Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by this year's Premiership winning manager Elliot Powell of St. Peter.
My first memory is going up to Boulevard to watch my dad when he was managing Grooville. Even in more recent years, having the opportunity to go and watch him at walking foot and stuff's been really nice, kind of coming full circle. Him watching me, then us coaching together now. Me watching him, the first league game of the season was against St Lawrence Reserves, and after about 4 minutes, I think we were 1-0 down. I was thinking, Christ, we're in a bit of trouble here again. But then by half time, we were 5-1 up. And you could just see at half time, the lads were like, oh, don't know what we're doing here. They all understood that St Peter's offer was, at 22, was almost unheard of. His head could have quite quickly gone through a window. He was doing my absolute sculling. To only concede 6 goals in the league is a phenomenal effort, and to do it at 19, I think, to have been in the Marathi squad last year, to have made his Jersey debut this year against Alderney, I couldn't be prouder of him. I know the club couldn't be prouder of him as well. If opportunities at a higher level locally came up, that would be something that I would be interested in. But at the moment, Cass and Gary have got those jobs, and I'm very, very happy. I think I've got the next best job in local football.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we are joined by this year's Premiership winning manager Elliot Powell of St Peter's. How are you doing, Elliot? How was the celebrations on Saturday?
Yeah, good. Cheers, Dan. Thanks for having me. Yeah, they were quite large celebrations. They were good. It's been a few weeks coming, so definitely felt the effects, I think, on Sunday, and then back to work today.
Yeah. Well, we'll come on to that in a bit, but as I do with all my guests, I start with asking them the basic question: have you always been into sport? What are your kind of first memories of sport?
Yeah, no, definitely kind of always been knocking around sport. I think my dad's quite big into his sport, so it's always been on the TV at home and stuff like that. So it's hard to get away from it, I guess. So straight away from a young age, pretty hooked on a multitude of sports, I suspect. And then really fortunate that throughout school at Vic Prep and then Vic College straight after, that sport was just such a good offering there. We had the ability to try so many different sports. My family's got absolutely zero cricket background. My dad probably been forced to watch it a fair bit, but just from going to Vic, really was fortunate enough to get into cricket and develop a love for that alongside football, rugby, not so much hockey. That wasn't really my bag, but yeah, just getting that chance to experience all of them. So yeah, really fortunate, but it's been around forever, really.
Yeah. And what are your memories of playing football here in Jersey growing up and in the youth teams?
Yeah, I think probably first memory is going up to Boulevard to watch my dad when he was managing Grooville. We were dragged up there kind of every Saturday, which we loved. So me and my brother going up, sometimes watching dad, sometimes he was getting sent off from the touchline, so I didn't watch him for too long. But yeah, on the pitch at kind of half time, full time, before the game, etc., just knocking the ball around with my brother, with my mates. So yeah, we've traipsed around local football pretty much every Saturday, but loved it. And then played junior football at Grooville, predominantly probably up to about under 14s, then flipped between a few clubs for a while, St Paul's, Wanderers, Tower, and then kind of settled down again at Roselle for a few years, and then ended up doing my last under 18 season at St Peter's.
Yeah. I was going to talk about him later, but I'll talk about him now. Your dad, obviously, still part of the coaching team now at St Peter's. How big has it been on your sporting career and your coaching career?
Yeah, obviously a huge influence. Even in more recent years, having the opportunity to go and watch him at walking foot and stuff's been really nice, kind of coming full circle. Him watching me, then us coaching together now. Me watching him a little bit, but he hasn't played much this season. But that's been really, really good. I think from a coaching perspective, I saw how much he loved it. Certainly at Grooville with the men's team when he ran that with Ian Horsfell, obviously now involved with the Bulls. And they had a decent side, won the Larish Cup, and we're always kind of up there competing as well. And then really kind of for my own coaching was when he stepped in really last minute. We were all at Tower, and then obviously what happened with Tower as a club was obviously quite sad, but left us in a position of a whole squad who, we were decent enough, but there was a few of us, myself, John T probably in particular, who we could have been playing a little bit higher level than we were at the time, but we just enjoyed knocking around with our mates, and then that was all kind of up in the air without a club. So he took us on, found us a club at Roselle who were great with us, and then quite quickly we became really, really competitive. I think we finished third in the under-16 league, having played in Division 2 the year before. And then the year after that, I think as a really young under-18s team, we finished joint top with St Paul's and eventually lost that in a playoff. So kind of him doing that and seeing him thrive again off that coaching, having been out of it for a few years, I think that kind of gave me the appetite to really get into coaching, and to be honest, straight away preferred it to playing as well. So yeah, he kind of probably inspired me to get into that coaching position, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And what were your kind of first experiences of the coaching side of things? And do you remember did you like it at first, or did it take time to get used to?
Yeah, I think it happened really, really quickly at Roselle. So we did the under under 16 year, and like I said, they kind of taken us in really, really last minute. Barry at Roselle sorted all of that really with my dad, and they didn't have an under 14s coach at the time. And I was 16. I'd just done my level 1. I'd started working for sport development back then. I'd done a little bit of coaching in and around school teams. I kind of liked doing that a little bit as well, kind of with the younger years. And then because Roselle had been so good to us, I kind of floated it to my dad and said, I had my moped then, and said, "Oh, do you think maybe I should give something back to the club that have kind of kept our mates team going?" He's like, "I can do it if you want." Yeah, he didn't really pressure me into it at all, but myself and Don Blompe, one of my good mates, we thought, "Oh yeah, let's have a crack at that under 14s." And it was definitely daunting at first. You've got all of these fresh ideas coming out of the coaching course, and then when you rock up and the pitch is an absolute bog and the floodlights are like someone's got a torch on, then it's all those coaching drills that you've just learned go out absolutely out the window. But we just had a good group of mates. Just kind of had a laugh with it. With me and Blomps, really. It was just an opportunity to have a bit of fun with it, and then we created a bit of success along the way. And it was funny. It kind of again goes full circle. I had Dan Medcalf, played up a year. He was our goalkeeper, and then ended up being one of my first signings at St John. And then Ryan Marchenko, again playing up a year. He was our striker. So then obviously they're two of the lads that I've managed in senior football as well. So really, really enjoyed it. We won the Corey Cup that year. Then kind of stopped the coaching once I did my A levels. But knew that was kind of the route that I wanted to go down with university as well. Picked up a bit of cricket coaching in the summers, etc. But yeah, that Roselle under 14 season was the first taste of it, really.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. With the coaches that you grew up having, who do you see yourself having parts of each of their kind of techniques, or is it your own kind of stamp on the coaching?
Some bits. Obviously, quite a few of my coaches were at a junior level, and I think it's a totally different ball game to senior football. Whilst I've always tried to make sure that kind of development element is there within St Peter's and St John's. Be fair to say that all of my coaches were much more kind of development focused than they were competitive, as they should be really at that age group. I think my dad under 16s flipped that. He was a senior manager dabbling in junior football, so that mentality shifted quite a lot, and that obviously rubs some people up the wrong way. But for me, I'd much preferred that environment straight away. I think that got the best out of me as a player, and so there's elements of my dad in there, but then my dad won't mind me saying as well, you move on quite a bit in terms of coaching methods. So there's some bits from my dad that I would not do again. You learn
Yeah,
learned from both experiences. Senior football wise, I've had a couple of managers as well. You learn getting some good bits, getting some bad bits from there. School managers, etc. Like, I think you learn good and bad from everyone. So you end up do become a bit of a cocktail of kind of everything that you've had so far. And then obviously the big bit for me was going away to uni, playing in the UK. What you take from managers that we playing for there, what you take from other kind of older senior heads as well, and then bringing that back to Jersey, I felt like when I came back and took the St John's job, it was very much more of a UK kind of style of coaching, managing with that element of Jersey kind of through it as well. Obviously, our coaching is a lot more technical than it is in the UK, but you'd expect that we've got better facilities, better pitch, better equipment. So yeah, I felt like it was quite a nice hybrid, which
yeah,
I still feel pretty true to today as well.
yeah, sure. And you talk about the St John job, but let's talk about that now. And how easy was it to take that job first of all, and then how difficult was it to first manage a senior team?
Yeah, well, I've had a little bit of experience in Preston. So, the team that I was playing for with my brother up there, we got into a bit of a relegation scrap and just needed a little bit more help on the coaching front, which I was doing sport coaching at university. So I threw my hat in the ring and think we managed to go on a pretty good run at the end of the season, 3 wins and a draw. We managed to get out of trouble literally right on the last day. And that was as an assistant manager, and I just absolutely love that. The last season of uni, we managed to then go from finishing third bottom to we finished second, and we got promoted. And that was my last season there with a new manager in charge, but still as assistant manager. So coming back to Jersey, I had a couple of knee injuries. I felt like I was going to get back into playing when I came back. I'd played for St John's in between uni, just quite an
Yeah,
easy kind of come back, play with a few of my mates, and then go back to the UK. Um, and one of them, Jamie, asked me, oh, would you fancy doing a little bit of coaching? I was like, no, not really. Like I've done a few years. I want to just focus on playing again. He's like, oh, come on, we've got nothing. So I was like, well, I'll do a couple of sessions in pre-season. That quickly turned into holding a team meeting at the local pub when there was 5 players,
yeah,
saying to Clay, it's like, kind of do a 5-side session here, mate, and I'm going to have to join in as well just to make the numbers up. Um, but yeah, quite quickly numbers grew. I think we got a really tough charity cup draw. We got St Paul's and Trinity. Trinity were quite well fancied there. Heinze, Ruben, then good side then as well. And obviously was St Paul's pre the Bulls. So yeah, we did pretty well. I think we lost 3-1 to Trinity, and then we were 1-0 up at St Paul's for a fair period of time. Ended up losing 2-1 last kind of 5 minutes. With a makeshift side.
yeah,
Um, and just I loved it from that point on. I thought like there was some potential with that group. Again, there were the mates that I played with, so it was a bit difficult. I still harboured some sort of hope of playing as well. I started, I think, the first 2 games, but just that was too difficult. Making subs from centre half and
yeah, yeah,
no interest in that by the end. It was too stressful.
yeah,
So I just jacked in the playing temporarily. I said I'd do it for a season. But yeah, we did really, really well. I think we only lost maybe 2 games with a cup. Yeah, 1 cup game and 1 league game all season. Obviously, COVID hit. So we finished second on points per game, which was good enough to take us up. So I had all intentions of taking that St John's side into the Premiership and really trying to make a fist of it up there as well.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And um, how good was it to see a team develop over the season? Obviously, you saw it with the team that you were in Preston or at
Yeah,
uni. So how good was it to see it in Jersey as well? And how good is that part of the job?
yeah. I think the Preston one was amazing because it was a group of lads who we were getting absolutely pummeled most weeks, and quite quickly they got into that training routine. We started having game plans, which they weren't the prettiest game plans. They were being really, really difficult to beat, trying to be as physical as we can, and nicking games, and that was them actually when we came to St John's, pretty much copy and paste kind of template. St John's I think had won 1 game in the season beforehand. And it was again a case of let's just try and be tough to beat. I remember the first league game of the season was against St Lawrence Reserves, and after about 4 minutes, I think we were 1-0 down. I was thinking, Christ, we're in a bit of trouble here again. But then by half time, we were 5-1 up. And you could just see at half time, the lads were like, well, we don't know what we're doing here. 5-1 up. What do you do in the second half? And we ended up, I think we won 8-3. It was by no means a classic of,
Yeah,
being tough to break down, but it just straight away gave the lads belief. And I think that's the nicest bit to see, is that you see the lads come in with maybe a mentality that things can't change, but over time, and that's why I quite like doing kind of project roles. Although St John's only lasted a year in the end, it was definitely still a project. And you really see that belief kind of transform, not overnight. It's a lot of hard work that goes into it, but once it clicks, everything's just so much easier.
yeah. And you talk about projects. You joined St. Peter. First of all, how obviously St. Peter, a massive club in Jersey. How
Mm-hmm.
big a step was that for you at a relatively young age to be a coach of senior football as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was something that we talked about at St John's in terms of trying to create a club like St Peter, and we'd actually used that reference a number of times within committee meetings, um, within coaches meetings, etc. We wanted to be some sort of setup like St Peter. That was the end goal. Obviously, I played for St Peter in my last under 18 year, and knew kind of all about the club. So the biggest probably test was just leaving St John's. It was such a good group of lads. The changing room was, I was 21, fresh out of uni, so the social scene was decent as well, and we were all fairly similar age. It was, with the exception of maybe Andy Moon, who was 40 plus. Everyone else was,
Yeah,
young lads, just either making their way in first team footy or had maybe been shunned from other clubs and found their way at St John. So the toughest bit was leaving St John, definitely. Especially, the committee there was so great. Nigel, Barry, Andy, and I'd said that I'd do, by the end of that season, I'd said that I'd do another year. So to kind of go back on my word was really, really tough. But I think they all understood that St Peter's offer was at 22 was
yeah,
almost unheard of, and St Peter's had such a long tradition of appointing internal managers. For them to come outside of that, I know I'd played for them for a year, but to come outside of that and approach someone from St John, it felt like an anomaly really, and didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. So yeah, said yes to that, and obviously the start was difficult with COVID, etc. But the step up straight away was obviously better standard of play, and that's no disrespect to St John's lads. I think they appreciated that as well. But the standard of training was a lot higher. The expectations of training from both a player point of view, but also the committee was a lot higher as well. And that's probably where I thrived upon it. I thought, obviously, I got my degree in it. I was hoping that I could step up to that, and hopefully, we have done that over the 3 years.
yeah. And how much have you enjoyed not just this season, but the process and the progress that you've made over the 3 years? Even talk to us about what you've done off the pitch as well at training to get the players where they are now.
Yeah, and cautions in here. It'll sound like I'm kind of criticising what went before, but I think there was a fair bit of work to do. Maybe ambitiously, we said we had a 3 year plan. That was broken down into each competition and what we wanted in each competition across those 3 years. So just from a sheer league perspective, given what's obviously just happened this weekend, the first year ambition was to finish in the top four to get back into the Jeremy Cup. We weren't in that. The year I took over, we'd finished sixth, but in all reality, with points per game and the games that Roselle had left, we would have finished seventh. So I think we would have finished third bottom. We weren't going to be in the Jeremy Cup. So the first ambition was, let's just get back in the top four, let's get in the Enter Island Cup, and we can build from there. The second year, we'll try and finish in the top three. We'll improve on that. And in the third year, we'll mount a title challenge, what we hoped. Obviously, things accelerated quite quickly through that with the St Clement's game in the second season and that mad run that we went on to even get to that stage. I guess the overriding feeling is to win it. It's just a bit of relief because you look a bit of a clown if you say 3 years beforehand that we'll mount a title challenge and then you never do it.
Yeah,
So to finally get over the line a couple of weekends ago and then lift it this weekend is, I guess obviously you've got the joy and the pride and stuff like that, but the biggest one for me is relief, just so you don't have to eat your own words.
yeah. A few words on the players as well. Obviously, there's been standouts, but as a team, as a unit, and as a squad as well, you've had a top season. Just a few
Mhm.
words on them as well.
Yeah, again, really good bunch. Some lads in there who were around at the start who um, I didn't think I was going to click with. I didn't think, obviously my dad, Garts, as well as the coach of the team, I didn't think we were going to click with full stop. I remember the first couple of training sessions, and he won't mind me saying this, but Elliot Powell, his head could have quite quickly gone through a window. He was doing my absolute sculling. Um, and he didn't quite get how he wanted to play. He didn't quite get how he wanted to train. He was absolutely everything that I wanted to get rid of. But look at him. I mean, last year he was our captain in the Jeremy Cup final when Sparky was away. This year, I think he's been one of our standout players. But not just that. In terms of as a person, he's a real leader within the changing rooms. I think he wouldn't mind me saying either that he was a little bit petulant, a little bit immature, maybe a few years ago. Remember him getting sent off in our second game in charge, and I was actually still banned, so I was watching from the car park. And yeah, he got sent off, and to be fair, he probably cost us the game, but he's paid that back in absolute bucket loads this year. He's probably won us a few points, so I'll forgive him for losing us a 2-0 lead at home in 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, yeah, and talk about the younger players as well, developing them.
Yeah.
Obviously, one that stands out to a lot of people is Pierce Roach. Um,
Mhm.
how good a season he had.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. I think first season, Pierce started playing C team football. So as soon as he turned 16, he was into the C team. First season that we were there, and by the Wee Cup final, just off the top of my head, was kind of March, April time that year. We had a really tough decision to make with our current number one at the time, and we chose Pierce. Pierce had been in an incredible form all season, and we chucked him in. I think it was only his second appearance. We chucked him in for the Wee Cup final, and he had a blinder at might have been 17 by that point, but 16, 17. Then last season, I thought he had an absolutely outstanding season. He grew physically, but he grew as a person as well. Started commanding his area a lot more, bossing the back four around, and then obviously we got to that league decider. And again, you know, Pierce talks about this quite openly, but he probably came for a ball that he hadn't come for all season in terms of one that he was just overly ambitious. As St Clements swung in the free kick, and he gets caught underneath it, and St Clements scored to make it 1-1 and win the league, and that hit Pierce really, really hard. He's a confident lad, but that rocked him. So to come back this year, I think he's pretty angry at conceding 2 goals on Saturday, but to only concede 6 goals in the league is a phenomenal effort, and to do it at 19, I think, to have been in the Marathi squad last year, to have made his jersey debut this year against Alderney. I couldn't be prouder of him. I know the club couldn't be prouder of him as well. We've seen him all the way through as a junior, and now he's obviously a bloke now. And I think for Pierce, it's just about keep working hard, keeping his feet on the ground, and just showing the right attitude at all times.
Yeah,
Again, we've had this conversation with him a few times, but if he concentrates on being the best goalkeeper he can be, then he's going to be some talent. Obviously, from a Jersey perspective as well, it's great to have himself, Ewan, Robbie Scott as well, knocking around. 3 really good and young keepers. So, yeah, Pierce had a phenomenal season, and long may it continue.
yeah, for sure. Season's not over. Obviously, some cup finals to come as well.
Yeah.
Um, how much are you looking forward to them, and how confident are you that you can get them in the bag as well?
Yeah, it's funny the kind of consequence of being successful, I guess, is that our season feels like it's dragged a little bit now. I know every manager probably says that at some point with the fixtures, but we've obviously got some Brellards in the JFA Cup final next Tuesday. That'll be a really good test. I think over the 3 years we've had some cracking games against St Brellards, a team that I think are probably on quite a similar journey to what we've just been on. I think John's stepping down next season, and Adam Leicester's taking over there, so I suspect there'll be a real force next year. So that'll be quite a good test. And it's obviously their one cup final of the year, so I'd imagine they'll be bang up for it. And then we've got 2 against Grouville, the Jeremy and the Wee. Pretty well documented, obviously, how tight that battle's been all year, and over the 3 years, it's been incredibly tight. I think the first season we couldn't buy a win over them. The second year we should have beaten them at home, and then Sol got sent off, and we ended up drawing the last kick of the game. I think that might be the first season actually. And the second year we beat them 1-0 and we just slowly got the better of them. And then this year, obviously, winning down at their place and then drawing at home, quite last gasp as well. But two games where Grooville were probably the better side at St Peters and we were the better side at Grooville. So nip and tuck games, they're going to be two really, really tight finals. And they've obviously got a lot of quality in there as well. And then the Upton final against Rovers, another team that's kind of nip and tuck game when we played them as well, 1-1. And then they lost their heads a little bit, got a couple of sendings off. So four finals where it's tough to pick a winner. Hopefully we come out on the right side of them. I think it's more for our lads now. The pressure does feel like it's off a lot. 17 years to wait for a league title. In between that, Vincenti's gone and had a professional career. So it's been a lot of water under the bridge. But now that you can just see the lads, I think they're playing their best attacking football of the season. And hopefully we can round off the season with a few more cups as well.
Yeah, definitely. Going into next season as well, how important is it to, I think you said it to me before as well, but to keep that momentum going to make sure that St. Peter's push for another title?
Yeah, I think again with the fixturing of the last couple of years, last year we played our Jeremy Cup final on the 2nd of June and we started our pre-season on the 28th. So naturally momentum kind of carried you through there. This year, we've got a couple of cup finals and we don't finish till May the 17th. Then hopefully a couple of our lads will be involved in the Island Games if selected. But I think in terms of momentum, it's no team has won the league back to back since St Paul's. So it's easy motivation. It's hard to win it once. It's even harder to retain it. So in terms of momentum, I don't think the lads need much. This year was incredibly easy to motivate them. Anyone could have done it. We lost the league in the last 5 minutes at home. So you just had to think about that. And whilst we brought in a couple of players, most of them remembered that feeling from last year. And now I think you've got that winning feeling this year. It's going to be pretty easy to motivate them again and keep the momentum going.
Yeah, should be good. Should be good. Going back to yourself, obviously you've been moved into or brought into the Jersey setup as well now,
Yeah.
as a coach. How good is that for you, and how are you looking forward to this summer coming up?
Yeah, I think it came out of the blue, to be honest. Had a couple of conversations with Cass just about our players, and then he asked me to get on board a couple of weeks before the Alderney game. I've really enjoyed it, to be fair. I think, again, like I said, from St Peters, from St John's to St Peters, is that step up in player. And I don't think it's a massive step. I think the St Peters lads are pretty talented, to be fair to them. But there's just that expectation that goes with that intensity again, maybe rises a little bit. And just that opportunity to work with best players, hopefully on a much more regular basis when we get into the summer and we get into kind of Island Games training. I think it's difficult at the moment because we're, this week, for example, flitting into a JFA mode for training, but we're still in the middle of cup final season for St Peter. So it's a challenging role, it brings different kind of challenges to it, but certainly really, really enjoyed it. Alderney was a good experience. It's a bizarre place. Somewhere that I'd never been. I think the baggage reclaim area kind of says it all when you rock up there. So that's been enjoyable. Just going and working with different players. It's just refreshing, really, really refreshing to put across ideas that maybe I've been banging on for 3 years at St Peters, and those lads have probably got bored of my drones now. So to go and chew someone else's ear off about how I wanted the team to play alongside Cass, then I think that was it's been really refreshing, giving me certainly a lot more motivation as well.
Yeah, definitely. Is that what's the biggest step up that you're going to look for? Is Bulls goal for you?
I think, at the moment, my priority is St Peters. I'm only 25, so I'm not overly impatient about what's next. I do want to work at the highest possible level that I can. I'd love to have a career in football. Obviously, I'm lucky to have a career in sport anyway, so it's not overly dramatic if I can't. But that would be an ambition of mine. That would be something that I would have pursued, I think, if I'd stayed in the UK. So if opportunities at a higher level locally came up, that would be something that I would be interested in. But at the moment, Cass and Gary are got those jobs, and I'm very, very happy. I think I've got the next best job in local football, so I'm very happy where I am at 25, and I'm in no real rush to get myself out the door.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Going back to the Jersey job, coaching role, um, how good is it, or do you find it hard to adapt to new players and kind of surroundings as well? Because obviously you've been surrounded by Garts and your dad at St John, St Peter. Um,
Yeah,
so obviously new surroundings with the coaching role. How have you been working with Cass? How's that going?
yeah, I don't find it's difficult. I worked with Alex Schultz in Preston and then John O'Hallam. So they were two different coaches within 2 different years as well, and quite a big player turnover across those 2 years. So working with new players and new coaches isn't something that's overly daunting. It's obviously different having then come out of being an assistant for a couple of years to then being an assistant again for Cass, which I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed that ability to just focus on the coaching, don't have to worry about the players overly. Obviously, there's an element of that in there, but that's Cass's responsibility really. And I can just look at the football side of it. And working with Cass has been, yeah, it's refreshing. It's always good just to hear new ideas. Cass has got a different outlook on football to what Garts has got, to what my dad's got, to what the two lads from Preston had. So it's all good. It just rounds you off a little bit more as a coach as well. And hopefully, coming out of the JFA role, hopefully I can add value to the Jersey FA team and the lads for the Moratti and the Island Games, but also then take it for development for myself as well. Can I take some of the experience that I'm going to have and take that back to St Peter's and put that into our lads as well? So I think it's a two-way relationship, and I've really enjoyed it so far, and hopefully Cass would say the same.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That's all the questions for me, Elliot. So thank you for coming on. Well done on this season, and good luck with the remaining games as well.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. That was another episode of Sportscast Jersey. Thanks for watching or listening. A new episode is coming soon.